Hello, I'm Brett Knowles from PM Squared. This is a quick overview of the Workboard OKR software tool seen in light of the work we've been doing at Sabre and what we've been working on during the last couple of weeks of workshops. It's important to note that this demo is not sanctioned by Workboard. I am showing you the software tool as I understand it, and there may be increased or slightly different functionality than what I'm explaining. And secondly, we're using demo data. This is the hierarchies and the OKRs, or the objectives we've created, but the key results data is purely fictitious. So, as a concept, within Workboard, it has the standard objectives and key results that we're used to. What it also has is a concept called work streams. And work streams are basically a way to cluster work together. So the objectives, as we understand them, outline the overall goal. The key results, we're pushing towards a smart layout. And these work streams, in your context, are things like processes, projects, or groups of work. That might be special projects or teams, like the E-team, as an example. So let's take a look at an example from GDCO. When we worked with GDCO, they came up with an objective of increased GDC maturity to deliver superior quality products and increased ROI, and it's spanning a couple of quarters. Then they came up with some key results. So for example, in quarter 2, they came up with a key result that said increase the baseline maturity at each site by 15%. And to do this, it involves several work streams. So obviously we need human resources, we need the local site management, and we need a project I created called the Maturity Project. So these are work streams or cluster of processes that are going to deliver this. And obviously later we can filter these by work stream and see all the different KRs that human resources is working on. A second KR that we came up with was reducing the cost of selected vendors by 20%. And that takes different work streams. Maybe it needs corporate procurement, legal, and site management. So the idea is this is the information that would go into a tool like Workboard. Just to make the connection, the form that we've been working with you to fill out, if you remember this, the objective, the key result, action items, and then as measured by, fit into this Workboard format nicely. So the overall objective, increased GDC maturity, is the first part of this sentence. The second part comes from these activities. So for each objective, we listed 1, 2, 3, 4 activities that get us there. And the second part, to deliver superior quality products, was actually the third item on this page, and ROI was the fourth item. So these words come exactly from the work we did with your team. These KRs obviously come from the work we did with your team as well. And then finally, the support to and from is what populates this part on the work streams. So again, the work that we've been generating from the workshops with each team member are specifically designed towards populating this kind of tool. So now let's flip over to Workboard and take a look at the tool. And again, I want to emphasize I'm showing you demo data and I'm representing Workboard to the best of our experience, but there may be additional and different functionality when you get to use the tool. So we're now looking at the Workboard tool. What we have across the top is a series of buttons that allow us to go into chunks of functionality like the business review, meetings, objectives. And based on whichever one I choose, this side menu gives me the options available. So currently, I've chosen objectives, and within objectives, the alignment view. Now, the alignment view allows me to take a look at OKRs either by organization or by objective. So in this case, we'll look at it by organization. And as a limitation of the demo environment, unfortunately, we're the first person on the left, but imagine Sean's name is there, and Sean could drill into the organization just by clicking on his name. So here you can see his direct reports, and as I mouse over any direct report, I can see what are the specific objectives they're working on and how they're progressing or what their performance is. So if I wanted to understand more about Louis, I could go over and make Louis the root of the drill down. And now within Louis, the next level down is by objective, because currently we have not built his direct reports in. That comes during the next phase of work. So once you go to the root, it defaults in the data we have, which is by objective. These lines are colored based on performance. And again, I can mouse over any one of them and see how we're performing with, in this case, the KRs that relate to them. So you can see here, for example, we've got 10 out of 10 on established baseline campus hub maturity levels. We've got 1% on our target towards achieving 50 plus systems usability scores, and so on. Again, I want to emphasize this is all fictitious data, but the idea is we can now take a look at my overall organization just by drilling through and taking a look at anywhere that we want to understand more. Let's pretend that perhaps we don't want to take a look at Louis, maybe we want to look at someone else. Now, once we've got all 10,000 people set up on the system, it's going to get confusing to get to. So I can just begin to type in people's names and it will identify who we might be looking for. So in this case, if I go to Sundar, I can begin to see what his objectives are. And again, you can see that he's behind target on hire great talent, and it looks like he's hired 1 out of 5 people. And again, we can drill into any data that we want to understand more. So in this case, I'm going to click on Co-Create Solutions with Customers to see more detail. Now, as I drill into that objective, I can see the 4 KRs that make up that objective. And within this, I can begin to do things like, perhaps I want to add comments about this particular performance. What's interesting about this is it now becomes a system of record. If I want to understand more about this particular metric, these comments will travel with the metric. Anywhere I use this, if I use it in a meeting minute or I use it for a one-on-one conversation, the data moves as well as the comment. So I no longer need to scan through emails and Slack and other sources. It's all there and I can see the history of who's commented on it. And of course, I can do other things. I can take a look at the data by following up, and I can have it so it warns me when there's changes to it. I can update the data just by clicking update. So if I don't have it automatically imported, I can just update the data and put in comments in here. And I can also take a look at the detail, the audit history of who's changed what and when. So this is pretty obvious in terms of how it is we can begin getting down to root data, whether we've got it in here by import, API, or directly keyed it in. One of the questions we frequently are asked is how do we deal with objectives that cross different E-team members or even work streams? So if I go up to objectives, we've created an artificial one called Share GDC Labs Objective. And if I click on that, we drill into that objectives data. You can see here that there's 2 KRs. One is for GDC work done and one is for labs work done. Now, instead of looking at key results, if I go over and look at the lines, I'll click on that, and you'll see that it aligns to both Louis and Sundar's. So in this way, they both have the same key result. And if it's red in one, it'll be red in the other. And this is great for shared things like HR support for training or competencies and so forth. Or like this, where we have a project that crosses multiple E-team members. Or we can also take a look at it in terms of work streams. Remember, work streams are how we cluster work. So we might have this as part of the new product to revenue special projects team. Also, part of the team work stream for GDC, and also part of the team work stream for labs. So again, the single KR can show up in multiple places so that we can take a look at it in context and also understand the cross-functional nature of work. So the final thing I want to show you that's interesting about Workboard that we've heard a strong pull for across Sabre is about helping you run more effective meetings. So let's say we want to run a meeting, and I've already created a template. So we're going to run a meeting on, we'll say, a workboard overview. In the meeting, what we can do is select if we want to add any particular objectives. So we can just choose which objectives we'd like to add. We might want to add in specific key results. Again, we can add in those key results. And we can even add in linking it to other work streams. So let's add this one to our new product development stream that we're looking at before. So now we've got live data in the meeting minutes. So when we go to run the meeting, we can take a look at the current data as of that day, not the data that was from a week ago when you scheduled the meeting. Not only that, we can, any comments that have been added onto the chart since then, travel with it so we can keep updated. So these things allow us to make sure that we're up to date with what's happening during the period between when we set the meeting and now. There are easy ways to schedule it. We can just drop this meeting on the team name, the work stream name, and it will automatically invites go to those people and so forth. But the part that I think is interesting is we can begin to add in notes. So for example, perhaps I want to have someone do something as a result of what's gone on. I can add that person in and add a comment to it. And because it's already linked to the new product team, once I've assigned that, that would show up in Sundar's to-do list of things that he has to do. And when he does it, it will update this minute meeting to show it's been completed. But also, if we now go back over to that board and take a look at the new product revenue board, we'll find that that item has now been added onto the agenda to make sure that it's going to be tracked along with this work stream. So what's interesting about this is it integrates the messaging system with the graph OKR system, with the meeting system, with how we run more effective meetings. So that's a quick overview of Workboard. I hope you found this interesting, and we look forward to beginning to use live data and helping you run more effective OKR meetings.